So here are my tomatoes and peppers. They're looking really nice and strong. But when you really look at these tomato plants compared to the pepper plants, you might notice that they're a little on the reddish purple side. You can really see it kind of on the stems here that they're more purple than green. So this is a symptom of a phosphorus deficiency. So phosphorus is used for plant growth. And with that in mind, these plants have been growing very fast. They're immature because they're still seedlings, so they don't have a very good uptake on nutrition. It's also a little on the cooler side of my basement, so because of that, you also have less efficient uptake of phosphorus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fertilize these tomato plants with what's called bone meal, which I'll show you in a minute. So I'm going to take these out of their little capillary mat and water them in the sink. I don't like to use fertilizer on the capillary mats because other things really like fertilizer as well, aka slime, mold, fungus, bacteria, and I don't want to get that onto my capillary mats. So these guys are going to go get a bath. So here they're all lined up in the sink, ready for some fertilization. And this is called liquid bone meal. I do believe in fertilizer, just organic fertilizer. So this is exactly what it sounds like. It's bone. So some of this is sort of a residual from, meat packing industry. So they dissolve bone to really get out the phosphorus and the calcium. And looking at the indication here, it says 0, 12, 0. So that's the percentage that I'm going to be at, or I should say parts that I'll be adding. So I'm not adding any nitrogen or potassium to my tomato plants. I just want to correct the potassium deficiency. So looking at the instructions, it tells me to mix 2 to 4 tablespoons of this into a gallon of water. And another way to, I'm going to water my plants with this, but you can also add what's called a foliar application, which is just that. You're putting fertilizer on the foliage and they can do absorption that way, which is a very effective way to get phosphorus into your plants. So I'm not going to worry if I get this on the foliage on my tomato plants because they'll absorb it. But I am going to keep them here until they dry before putting them back under the grow light so that the leaves don't get burned as well. And here's my gallon watering can so that I can mix this up. And this is the bone meal that I'll just put in there. This is 1 tablespoon. I'll put in 1 more tablespoon. So I'm going to go on the lighter side and do the 2 tablespoons per gallon instead of the 4 because these are seedlings and I just want to get them past their deficiency. They're growing well enough on their own, so I don't feel like I need to really give them, jack them up on 4 tablespoons of bone meal. So I'm expecting that within a week these will green back up and the purple foliage should be resolved. These have now been watered and you can see that they're sitting in water. So I've left the gallon in the sink. So I stopped up the sink so that they can really just soak in there and let their roots absorb all the phosphorus. And after I'm done with my tomatoes and they've dried, I'm gonna also put my peppers in here just as preventative. Peppers aren't quite as heavy feeders as tomatoes, but these were planted at the same time, and if my tomatoes have a phosphorus deficiency, I'm expecting that my peppers will soon follow. So again, it's just to prevent. I do also have some newer tomato seedlings that I'm going to take a closer look at and see if they're starting to show any signs and put them in here. But phosphorus is a pretty gentle fertilizer, and I don't have to worry so much about burning like you can with a nitrogen application, for example. But I think that this should do the trick.